But first, this is a Fox News alert. As we reported at the top of the program, on the day after John Walsh and I reported our belief that the man charged with the rape and murder of San Diego teenager Chelsea King, sex offender John Albert Gardner III, was also responsible for the disappearance a year earlier of another San Diego teenager, Amber Dubois, authorities announced in a very somber press conference this evening that they had discovered Amber's long missing body. Here's Craig.
The discovery was made in the early morning hours of Saturday in a very rugged and remote area of Paula.
Amber's discovery comes just days after the body of 17-year-old Chelsea King was found buried in a shallow grave along the shores of Lake Hodges. Since linking convicted sex offender John Albert Gardner III to the crime through DNA found on Chelsea's underwear, police have been working leads to find Amber.
Escondido Police and Sheriff's Homicide detectives were following a lead in the case when they made this discovery.
Amber was last seen February 3, 2009, walking with a man about 200 yards from her high school. She was 14 years old at the time. Gardner was living in Escondido, about 2 miles away from the area where Amber vanished. He had just completed parole a year earlier.
Mr. Gardner wishes to enter a plea of not guilty to both counts and deny the allegations that are attached thereto.
Gardner was convicted back in 2000 for molestation of a 13-year-old in his neighborhood. Is that right?
That's correct, and it was plea bargained. He only served 5 years in prison out of the 6-year sentence he got in the plea bargain. He was on parole for 3 years.
A decade ago, Gardner was charged with sex crimes against 2 teenage girls, neighbors that he lured into his home and molested. Shockingly, the prosecutor accepted a plea deal despite psychiatrists' warnings. State Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher.
Well, the system failed. I mean, court psychologists said he is callous, he has no remorse, he will do it again. And yet he was released. And unfortunately now for the rest of their life, the King family has to live with this awful memory of what happened.
Foremost on the minds of people here in San Diego is, why was John Albert Gardner on the streets to begin with? Police in Escondido, a neighborhood where Gardner once lived, admit to numerous contacts with Gardner while he was still on parole. But they haven't disclosed what those contacts were about. Assemblyman Fletcher is seeking all records relating to the murder suspect, who could be linked to several other attacks, including 14-year-old Amber Dubois.
We asked corrections for his full file, his central file from his time in prison, and his field file from when he was on parole. And so far what we've gotten is delay and stonewall, and well, we'll get back to you, and that's not acceptable. In order to figure out how to fix the system, we need to be able to see exactly where it broke down. And corrections needs to get their act together and release the records.
For Amber Dubois' parents, at least there's closure.
We'd like to thank everybody involved in the search for Amber, the entire community, everybody who helped out in our search efforts, and above all, our huge volunteer corps. They were the most dedicated people you could ever imagine. Without them, we couldn't have done anything.
Tragic, terrible, terrible story. Joining me, Craig, Kimberly Guilfoyle, former prosecutor. Craig, to both of you. Craig, you first. I don't believe in coincidence. The fact that he gets busted for Chelsea King last week, and this week they find a body that they have not been able to locate for 1 year. I think that's the tip. Who gave them the tip? I think it's totally connected to the Gardner arrest. Do you know anything that would contradict that, Craig?
I don't know anything that contradicts that, Geraldo, but you have to assume that with the FBI involved, this guy obviously adept at plea bargaining, that maybe somebody mentioned the fact that this is a capital crime and he could face the death penalty. You know, these 2 cases aren't the only ones that he is somehow linked to. There are reports of other stalking incidents, one back in October, another as recently as last week when Chelsea disappeared. A young girl, a 13-year-old, leaving her middle school, was followed by a guy in a black sedan. He tried to lure her into his car. That black sedan was later seen at Gardner's mother's driveway and was later towed away, Geraldo.
And Kimberly, the fact that he was on the street, I mean, they should have a truth in sentencing law in California. I mean, that applies to plea deals.
That he shouldn't have been out.
How do you get it? He's facing 30 and he does 5. I mean, it's just not.
Because the prosecutor sold the case, and the judge shouldn't have gone along with the plea disposition. This was a man that the psychiatrist urged, said that he would reoffend, that he has this profile to prey on young women like that. And what we know now, it appears, based on the evidence, that he has done it again. And now the connection as well to Amber. And it's very disturbing. It highlights a problem in California of 22,000 sex offenders unaccounted for in the wind. They have no idea where they are. And then you have a revolving door with these people that are recidivists. They cannot stop. They will do it again. You have to max them out and keep them behind bars.
All right, Craig.